everybody, and welcome back to SportsGamer, and welcome to the first edition of a new show that we like to call the Wraparound. Where on a bi-weekly basis, we will be covering everything that the ECL has to offer. That, of course, not just including our top tier in the Elite Division, or, of course, we have our Pro Spotlight streams. We want to cover everything because, as always, there's so much going on here at SportsGamer. As you can see, of course, we crowned a Finnish 1v1 champion recently, and we want to do our best to let everyone know that here, we see you. We promise we want to cover as much as we possibly can. There is only so much time in a day, but it is worth covering, as we'll jump right into this because I think you're all smart enough to kind of know, hey, here's what we're aiming for, because I get an opportunity to talk about our lowest tier, the Neo Division, and this is kind of the perfect showcase right out of the gate for what we want the wraparound to be and to really be able to, shine that light on these lower divisions. There are 5 groups within the Neo tier this season, and immediately top of Group 1, currently led by HC Ranico, Rusty Bulls are right there as well, and look at that. Very similar point per game. The point difference is very, very close in both teams. 9 wins in their last 10 games, which is absolutely fantastic. Ranico led by their leading scorer, My Little, and I really hope it's Tommy instead of Tommy, but he is up there with an outrageous 78 points in 14 games, has previous Lite experience. And yeah, no, this is a player that I want to see. Of course, Rockin' Jordan NHL as well. Great job there. This is a player that I want to see in a higher tier sooner rather than later. I mean, how could you not, given the current setup there? But worth noting as well for Rusty Bulls, like we said, 9-1 in their last 10. Worth keeping an eye on them. Very much capable of making that charge for the top of the group. As Group 2 is led by Red Goblins, a bit of a lead on everybody else in this particular division. But again, another team 9-1-0 in their last 10. Their leading scorer as well. And hey, this is going to be the fun part. There's some new names. There's a good chance I'm going to butcher some names. And if I do, hey, let me know at Tuki24 on Twitter, or let us know. This will be up on YouTube and the comments, of course. But Nikki Tickyton is what I'm going with. 62 points in 14 games. Let me know how to say your name properly, because I need to put some respect on your name. You are dominating here in our Neo division. But even perhaps more impressively for the Goblins here, not just their leading scorer here that I previously mentioned. Look at their goaltender. Look at them. This is unbelievable. And again, in terms of names, hey, we got the heads up on this one. Lacrity Apipo, which I believe is Lacrity Barrel, if I'm not mistaken. I'm trying to get up there on my Finnish. A barrel of Lacrity. Make sure it's Kovalan Lacrity, as always, the official sponsor of us here within the ECL Elite Division. But look at that stat line, man. 13-1-0 with a 91% save percentage, leading this particular tier, which is just disgusting. It is. It's an absolutely disgusting save percentage through 14 games. You can sort it out. Now, technically, there is some competition, but look at the difference in terms of games played. The next person in double digits finds themselves down at an 84%, which is still incredibly respectable. Again, outstanding so far from Red Goblins in our Neo division, so make sure to continue to pay attention to them. They would have to be viewed, I would say, as the favorites. By the way, something else that I love looking at here, some of the hit differences. Love those teams that can play a physical style of hockey, not end up in too much penalty trouble. I mean, again, look at that. Fewer penalty minutes than Goblins in the same amount of games played. Love seeing that more physical style of hockey. Our third group, led by the, I believe it would be the Engarau Pythons. Again, hey, I'm going to get some of these wrong, and that's okay. Let me know. I want to learn here. But the Pythons, 8-1-1 in their first 10 games, off to a tremendous start. Son of Sins as well, also up there to 1.63 points per game. They still have those 2 games at hand to potentially match that point pace. The Pythons, led by, again, someone else with just a tremendous name, Diesel Weasel. Come on, man. These names are tremendous. 42 points in 10 games so far this season, which again is just absolutely fantastic. And of course, and for some reason my back button's not working at the moment. I'm trying to figure it out on the fly. We'll get there, hence me going back up towards the top. And we get to our fourth group as well with, I'm guessing, Glasbanken. I hope it's that way. It might just be banking. Let me know. All I know is I'm banking on you to take this group at a tremendous 9-1-0 to start off this season, led by forwards Israelson and Nilsson, who are off to pretty good starts as well. As you can see, I mean, look at this. It's just gross what some people are able to do here. 33 points in 9 games, 32 and 8 for their top scorers, which is just fantastic. Hey, look at the back button. You love to see that. And our fifth group led by HBGBG, who are 12-0. Can I buy a vowel? Because teams can't buy wins against you. It's ridiculous. Their leading scorer, Pollen, as well, 58 points. Look at this. 58 points in 12 games. We have some freaks down in the Neo division on some very, very good teams, and we'll be keeping an eye on you guys moving forward here as we continue to get closer towards the playoffs.
SportsGamer introduces casual skill-capped NHL 23 and FIFA 23 leagues to run throughout the summer at an easy pace. Join the fun and get a taste of competitive gaming in a supportive environment. Go to sportsgamer.gg/CEHL for more information.
That brings us up an extra level to our core division, featuring at the top of Group 1, Black Sharks, 18-6-2. Their captain, Sasha, leading the way, 76 points in 26 games, which again is fantastic. I mean, fantastic in any league whatsoever, and then you consider the step up. And again, look at this. I mean, it's a dynamic duo, to say the least, for Black Sharks to kick off this season. They have been fantastic. But what I love about this, look at these two right here. Isman Valinta and French Eagles, not all that far behind. Both 9-1 in their last 10 games. Keep an eye out on the 3 and 4 seed at the moment as they continue to push their way towards contention. And technically, if you sort by the point per game percentage, they're ahead of Black Sharks at the moment. So again, that is a very interesting race in our core division. And we also have the second group of the division with Tampere Taisto leading the way, 14-3-3 to kick off this season. But again, another interesting race. Dompa HC is there, as are the Latvian Warriors, currently in 5th, both of them at 8-2-0 in their last 10, in better form than the team currently in 1st, and with games at hand. And again, you look at that point per game, you start to wonder. I mean, again, there's some competition there, certainly, with a few of the teams that are directly behind them. So immediately, we start taking a look around. It's like you start to notice just how close and competitive these leagues are, to say the least. And indeed, despite only 2 groups in core this season, I am very, very intrigued by the current race that is going on there, and intrigued to see how it lines up throughout the rest of that season.
SportsGamer introduces casual skill-capped NHL 23 and FIFA 23 leagues to run throughout the summer at an easy pace. Join the fun and get a taste of competitive gaming in a supportive environment. Go to sportsgamer.gg/CESL for more information.
And then we head up to Lite, and Lite, of course, 4 groups here as well. Group 1 currently led by Dark Wild, but they could easily have some competition on their hands. SCB Esports there as well. They have won 9 of their last 10 games. You see a lot of these teams that are in tremendous form. The pressure is off a little bit. It is worth noting. The top 4 from each group making the playoffs, 13 and 14 end up in relegation playoffs, while 15 and 16 can end up being relegated. And of course, there is only 15 teams in Group 1, Company of Geeks, a DNF on the season, not icing a team. So the pressure's off a little bit there. Still going to be an interesting race here at the bottom. Outside of Timrå, who are in 10th place right now, have a little bit of safety over the 4 teams below them. that's going to be a very interesting race as that plays out. While Group 2, led by, again, the red-hot Napoli with a 17-3-0 record, which is insane. They currently have the tiebreaker over Cheeky Grinders for the top of this division. Of course, both teams 34 points. We have the 4 games in hand for the current leaders of Group 2. Keep an eye out, and what a name here for the club, and I love it. Hatsi Gaboom leading the way, 44 points in 20 games. Tremendous name. Already one of my favorites in one of the lower tiers. And in terms of that relegation concern for this group, Parati Chumatov, their academy team right now, not quite where I'm sure they'd want them to be. Moto Hockey as well, currently finding themselves in 15th. So worth keeping an eye out on that relegation battle, as both of these teams not quite where they'd want to be. And of course, Parati right now, a couple of games in hand on Moto. So we'll see kind of how that plays out. Group 3, currently led by a Boost HC, still undefeated in regulation through 18 games played, 9-0-1 in their last 10. But again, look at the competition level here. Look at the recent form here of Mustakolta, Supernatural, Shameful Knights. Another incredibly close battle here that we have. Not to discount Nuremberg, of course, but again, you look at the recent form of a lot of these teams towards the top of the standings. It is an incredibly close race that they have going on, and an interesting relegation battle as well. You know, when you have teams at the top of the standings with a lot of points, you know, at the bottom, that's going to be reflected right back. And yeah, certainly right here, it's going to be interesting to kind of see who finishes in those bottom 2 spots when the points are relatively close. I mean, again, just 6 points separating 13 through 16. 1 week can turn that around very, very quickly, especially with Wildcats Esports. I mean, only 1 win on the season. You keep losing in overtime and picking up those points, figure it out towards the end of the season. You never know what might happen. And our 4th group, Skellefteå, currently leading the way, 12-0-2 for them. And again, some competition to say the least. Punakala is there. Chiefs, please tell me it's Xbox. And given the logo there, I'm guessing it is Xbox, which is a tremendous name as well. Again, we're in such an early stage of the season that Skellefteå at the top of things are going to have to fight to maintain that position. That is the story throughout all of our tiers right now. So again, keep an eye out. And of course, you know, when the points are close at the top, look at the relegation battle here. Again, a winless team at the bottom, but you lose in overtime, start to figure things out. You never know, but there is a massive gap in terms of games played. So you never know what might happen. But again, we're still in that early stage of a season enough that you don't really know how things are going to play out.
Looking to grow you or your team's platform through sponsorships or brand deals? Well, look no further than SportsGamer's Community Sponsorship Program. For more information or to submit an application, go to sportsgamer.gg/sponsorship.
Which brings us, I'm excited about this, to our Pro Division, our 2nd tier. And of course, with this current setup, you have the 2 groups, and rather easy to follow. 1 through 8, of course, making the playoffs. 9 through 11, safe heading into next season. 12, 13, and 14 play a relegation battle, relegation series. And of course, the bottom 2 teams in each group automatically relegated. And we'll start off with Group 1, Luleå at the top, 13-1-2, with former elite competitor Jansku leading the way, absolutely dominating. Look at this, 57 points in 16 games. A lot of prior elite experience in this lineup. No surprise at all, at least from me, to see these guys at the top of Group 1, 8-1-1 in their last 10, and they're not the only team 8-1-1 in their last 10. Speaking of teams with elite experience, shout out to the Deadly Phantoms. It's been a while since we've seen them in the top flight, but still a fantastic team that I think we could see back sooner rather than later. You never know. But aside from that, the rest of the group, it's so difficult to predict at this stage. I mean, again, you see the point difference. HV71 barely out, trailing Beabro by just 1 point with 2 games in hand. And then you get into the relegation matchups, and it's just 3 points separating Vizio in a safe spot from Björklöven Esport, who are currently in a relegation spot. So we'll see what happens there again as it continues to play out. But again, incredibly competitive outside, unfortunately, from Red Bull Munich Esports right now, still looking for their first win of the season. And that brings us over to Group 2, currently led by Golden Knights at 14-3-3. Need to shout out second in league scoring behind Jansku, their forward Jimbo, 50 points in 20 games played. Of course, again, some more former Elite Division experience, JM there, who, again, tremendous point total for him as well. But for Golden Knights, they may have some company at the top. Sika, Polski boys right there in the mix with those games at hand. Again, incredibly close at the top of this division. As well, worth noting, we mentioned their academy team a little bit earlier on. Parati Chomutov Esports currently in 7th in this group, looking good at this stage, 8-2 in their last 10 games. And of course, we talked about the other spots for the other groups and just how close it is. Same thing reflected here from those just missing those playoff spots as things currently stand to the safety positions. And then, of course, down to the relegation spots, which 2 surprising candidates there for me, at least, to see in the relegation spots. But goes to show just how competitive the pro division happens to be.
SportsGamer is partnering with EA Sports for the Madden 23 Madden Academy Tournament. Players that enter for the tournament will receive a Madden NFL 23 game code for the PlayStation 5. For more information and registration, go to sportsgamer.gg/Madden.
With that, we will cap things off at the top of the mountain, our Elite Division, of course, which, you know, obviously Sin and I, of course, going to be the most familiar with getting to cover the league, but what an interesting setup we have right now through the first 20 games or so. Crazy that we're already 2/3 of the way through a season at the time of recording. Defending champions Tunnel Vision currently sitting atop the board in first place, but both in terms of form and winning percentage, the point percentage, that is, as you can see with Frölunda, they are in second and hot on the tails of the team that beat them in the Elite Division final last February, live, of course, at Assembly, which was, again, an incredible 7-game series that I very much enjoyed getting to call in person. For Tunnel Vision, worth pointing out, Leitinen. He did it last year. He's doing it again, leading the league in points, 56 in the 20 games played, while goaltender Nike, 88% save percentage. We have not gotten to talk about him enough this season, leading the league in save percentage, 7 shutouts in 18 games played. For some of the concerns that we may have had about Tunnel Vision coming off of their loss in the World Final, and okay, can they show that willingness to adapt their style? For the moment, they really haven't had to show that willingness to adapt their style, as they are still giving teams everything they can handle in terms of that style. You have H-Reds in third, of course, former champions. We have seen major departures from this club this season, including the most recent departure, FaZe in goal. Teme is now the number 1. And of course, we knew about King of Apes leaving for Nordic Stars at the beginning of the season, but they are still a top team and a team to be really reckoned with. But how about this? The big surprise of the season, Lexans currently sitting in 4th. The team that earned their spot in the Elite Division the day before the season began. And here they are in 4th, and a big part of the reason as to that, look at Kaudu here. 48 points in 18 games played, 23 goals. Haven't gotten a chance to call your games yet on broadcast. Hopefully we get to do that soon, and hopefully I do not butcher names. We are well familiar with Kadanarski, though. He's been here for a little bit. But again, it is very impressive what Lexans have been able to do so far this season. Sin and I talked about it on broadcast. You know, gone seemingly are the days of, well, here's the new Pro Division club, and they're right back down. That seemingly doesn't happen anymore, as a lot of people really kind of getting, you know, the teams together, getting that chemistry, and then proving to be very difficult for the Elite Division teams that aren't as familiar with them at that point, at least on this stage. So again, tremendous for Lexans this season. Pretty rough week for Heimo at 4-6-0. Very much expecting them to be back into the playoff hunt, but they have opened the door for the 3 teams below them to make up that ground. Again, all 3, 18 games played, 19 points on a very similar pace, of course, to Heimo. So you do have that separation between 8 and 9. You can see, off of the point percentage there. There is that little bit of separation, but as we know, we've seen it. You need to try to finish top 4, especially too if you're in that 8, 7, 6 spot. You know you're getting one of the big 3 in the first round. Easier said than done to try to knock one of them off. As we scroll outside of the playoff hunt, pretty rough week there for ZSC Esports. Just 3 wins in their last 10. Going to be intrigued to see, of course, if they can bounce back. Very far off of the playoff pace that they were able to set last season. And at the very bottom is where we're going to round things out. Erlboro Hockey, a decent week, have propelled themselves. I mean, a decent week in terms of how they were doing at the start of the year. They've propelled themselves up to 15th, but look at that. 18 games played to just 12 for Färjestad. It's been a very disappointing season for them. We thought last season was disappointing. This has been, I think, worse than anybody really would have expected. Perhaps you could argue their focus on other tournaments, but again, they do get the big addition of FaZe, depending on his availability. Those are 3 very solid goaltenders. Look for a late season surge, easy for me to say, from Färjestad. It would be very surprising to still see them that low in the standings, let alone finishing 16th, if that were to happen.
Looking to share your best moments or highlights with the ECL community? Well, make sure to post your highlights on Twitter with the hashtag ECL23Clips, and you could have your moment featured on our next segment.
You're only as successful as your most recent face-off win. He still needs to win this one. Aggressive setup. Face-off one. Reality check shot. Loose puck in front. Shoveled on. And they score! Vincere, as the extra attacker, ties this game at the last possible second. No cap! Give me cap!
But with that, we will bring things to a close. I want to thank you all for joining me here on this adventure. And hey, if you have any ideas for what else you'd like to see as a part of this show, let me know. More than willing to take some feedback. Thank you all very much for watching. Again, I appreciate it. We all appreciate it here at Sports Gamer, and we'll see you again very soon.